Now that we're beginning to create button events in our code, we need to dive deeper into how we create the link between the buttons on our touch panel and our button events in our code. Let's double-click our touch panel file from the user interface folder in our workspace bar. This will launch the touch panel file in TPDesign 5. In an earlier tutorial, you built this touch panel file. Let's double-click on the Relay pop-up page so we can make some changes. Remember, we had you put 4 buttons on this page. They're called Screen Up, Screen Down, Screen Stop, and Screen Preset. We built these buttons, but we purposely left out one critical step. We need to add the missing link. How does our code know which button gets pressed? This is where the Programming tab comes into play. Let's select one of our buttons. I'll single-click the Screen Up button. Now, in the button properties, I'll choose the Programming tab. We touched on this a little bit in the touch panel tutorials, but it's critical you have a firm understanding of what these fields do. First, we're going to make sure our feedback is set to channel. This means that the feedback will be code-driven. In other words, if the code tells that button to turn on, it will turn on. It's named channel because every button that you wish to trigger an event in your code needs a channel assigned to it. The address port and address code is used for variable text. What this means is that if you wish to send information to this particular button, you will need to send it to a certain address. Think of it like sending someone mail. If you want to send someone a letter, the first thing you need is their address. The address code is also required anytime you want the code to modify a button, including changing its states, fonts, or color information. For example, if you have a button on your touch panel that you wish to display the current lamp hours in a projector, you would set up an address port and address code. In your code, you will communicate with the projector, query its lamp hours, and then send that information to the button. The button will then display the current lamp hours. We'll learn more about this in a much later tutorial. For now, we're going to focus on the channel port and channel code fields. This is how the code will recognize which button was pressed. Remember, you can have up to a maximum of 100 ports on your touch panel. Each port that you use will need to be defined as another device in your Define Device section. For this course, we'll be using a unique port for each page or lesson that we tackle. Don't close TPDesign, but let's take a quick look back at our Define Device section in NetLink Studio. We've already defined the first port on our touch panel. DVTP is defined as device number 10001. This will never change. One physical touch panel can only ever be assigned one device number. But the port number is the key here. It can be any port between 1 and 100. So let's return to our touch panel. Now, let's assign this Screen Up button a channel port and channel code. The port number is defaulted to port 1. That's what we want. We want all 4 of these buttons to be on port 1. The channel code is the unique channel number for each and every button. The channel code can be anything you want between 1 and 4,000. Yes, you heard that correctly. You can have up to 4,000 unique buttons on a single port of your touch panel. So technically, with 100 ports available and 4,000 channels on each port, you could in fact have 400,000 unique buttons on your touch panel. For right now though, we have 4 buttons. I'm going to assign the Screen Up button a channel code of 2. I'm now going to highlight the Screen Down button and make sure its channel port is 1, and its channel code I'm going to use is 3. Screen Stop will be channel 4, and finally, Screen Preset will be channel 6. You might be asking yourself, how do I go about choosing which channels to use? Or, how do I know if a channel code is already in use? First off, take a look up in the Workspace window. At the bottom, there's a tab called Function Maps. This is a listing of all the channel and address codes that are used in your panel file, broken down by port number. Or, if you prefer, you can toggle on and off the function code overlay. You can find this under the View menu. It is called Display Function and State Overlay. You could also use the assigned hotkey, which is F7. Additionally, we do have some standards that we will use when it comes to assigning channel codes. We'll get into this a bit later on in the course. Okay, now that we assigned a channel port and channel code to each of our buttons, we're done. Let's save our touch panel file and close out of TP Design 5.